Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 is a highly immersive medieval role-playing game set in 1403 in the Kingdom of Bohemia. We play as Henry of Skalitz, the humble son of a blacksmith turned man-at-arms, serving King Wenceslas in a war of succession against the usurper Sigismund, the same conflict that led to the death of Henry's family at the hands of István Tóth's forces. As the bodyguard of Sir Hans Capon, our company is tasked with delivering a letter from Ratai to the Lord of Trosky Castle in an attempt to secure his allegiance. Along the way, we will have to face many challenges, overcome our undifferentiated schizophrenia, and battle the most terrifying opponent of all: employment. Can we survive the harsh and unforgiving world of Czechoslovakia and break out of poverty? Or will we be hanged, drawn and quartered by 15th century Czechian sodomites? Only one way to find out. Our story begins with the siege of Sakdol, where we play as Hans Capon defending the fort from the usurper's army. This also serves as the tutorial for basic controls. In the field of literature, this is called in medias res, where the plot begins in its chronological middle, only to flash back to the start, leaving the viewer wondering on how things went so horribly wrong. Why am I telling you this? I don't fucking know, maybe so you actually learned something, you brain-rotted idiot. Anyway, we flash back to the past when our gang just reached the countryside near Trosky. We engage in some riveting conversation on the backs of our horses before a group of riders wearing the colors of Trosky approach us. After a brief conversation, we convince the patrol that we are in fact not bandits.
Very well.
Afterward, we decide to make camp next to a nearby pond in the middle of the open.
Foreshadowing as a narrative device.
We're then given a tutorial for the combat system in a friendly duel with Hans.
A bit of swordplay.
You're in the mood for that after riding so long.
After beating his ass, the boys and I sit around the campfire reminiscing about the past. Naturally, this leads to the brilliant idea of going for a swim in the pond. Doing so, we hear some woman washing clothes nearby.
Females! Let's go to the females! Sir Hans! Oh.
I resist the urge to punt this random woman in the head with a rock, and we successfully sneak up on them. This amount of degeneracy was common and mostly accepted for the time period. Our peeping is interrupted by screams and the sound of steel clashing. As we watch our entire company get slaughtered by bandits we were explicitly warned about.
Is that a Berserk reference?
Our heroic instincts get us spotted, so we swim across the lake to escape, get shot in the back with an arrow, and are forced to flee while bleeding out into the rocks. We nearly get caught, but our loyal companion Matt saves us from certain death. A 30-foot fall appears to have given us enough TBI for our previously undiagnosed schizophrenia to manifest. Hans drags us bleeding through the forest as we relive our traumatic past in the form of hallucinations, which, as someone who hasn't played KCD1, I genuinely appreciate. Eventually, we stumble upon a hut in the middle of the forest and barge in to beg the residents for help. One of the bandits tracks us down, at which point Hans gets into a drunken fistfight with him and we pass out. We are treated to some dreams about our past and then we wake up to a beautiful view. We get up, eat some delicious stew, steal all the remaining food off the table, put on the clothes of the dead guy outside and take a brief moment to appreciate the beauty of nature. Hans is still barely alive, so the old woman asks us to gather some herbs to brew a so-called lithium potion to help him. She also asks us to bury the corpse in the yard, because it's disturbing her. I don't really know what she's talking about, because, personally, I find the smell of fresh bodies and the sound of 1,000 flies to be quite calming. Nevertheless, we oblige. We head into the backyard, accidentally commit crimes against the local wildlife.
Huh? Oh shit! I just killed a bunny by walking over it. Come here, bunny. I'm gonna step on you as well.
It still hurts like hell.
I don't even need a bow and arrow. Just my feet are enough.
And gather the necessary herbs. On the way back, King Baratheon from Game of Thrones threatens us with violence. I attempt diplomacy. And somehow it actually works. After an extremely in-depth conversation with Bojana, she teaches us how to brew a potion, a very useful mechanic that I absolutely did not forget to use for the next 20 hours of gameplay. After nearly burning her house down with my expert cooking skills, we give the potion to Hans and go to sleep. We are treated to some red-tinted exposition about her past that I was definitely paying attention to. In the next morning, we meet Bojana's daughter, discuss our extremely normal dreams, and eat breakfast with the family. Then say our goodbyes. A surprisingly pretty travel montage later, we arrive at Trosky Castle. We receive a warm welcome at the gate. The guards don't believe we're messengers from Red Eye because we have exactly zero proof, so we try the Chamberlain.
Nevertheless,
He just did the hand thing.
And get absolutely nowhere. Defeated, we head to the local inn, order food, and immediately realize we can't afford it. Things are going great. While eating, we spot a woman who was at the pond during the attack and could vouch for us. Using my expert woman talking skills, I strike up a conversation.
Hi. Oh, can you smell that too?
Oof. It stinks like something died here.
Ah yes. Hello ladies. This is just my aura. It's just my W Riz aura that you
For some reason, she denies ever being at the pond, but does mention an upcoming wedding that Lord von Burgov will attend, which would be our best shot at talking to him. Since we couldn't pay for our food, the innkeeper asks us to repay our debt with some manual labor. I ask Hans to help out, to which he responds with an asinine rant about the 3 states of man. While carrying the sacks to the pantry, alone, we overhear Hans getting into an argument with the locals. I do my best to defuse the situation, and fail miserably. He manages to piss them off to the point that a full-on bar fight breaks out.
I'm like Anthony Joshua and this guy is Jake Paul.
Eventually, the guards show up, break up the fight, and we're thrown into the stocks as punishment. Here, Henry and Hans get into an argument, and we reasonably tell Hans to fuck off.
You're a spoiled brat, fuck you.
The next morning, once our time in the stocks is over, Hans and I part ways, each of us going off on our own to find a way into the wedding. And with that, the intro/prologue section of the game concludes. Our long-term goal is to somehow get an invitation to the wedding at Semin, but we have a more immediate problem. We are homeless. We currently have 0 groschen, 0 food, 0 reputation, 0 hose, and precisely no clothing other than these white shorts to our name. So before anything else, we need to get off the streets. A reasonable way to do this would be to find a job and become an actually contributing member of society. But that shit is lame, so I had a far better plan in mind. Crime. I get on all fours and start scrambling around Trosky like a deranged lunatic. I quickly spot an open attic entrance, so naturally I climb inside and steal some cabbages from the pantry. I search the rest of the house and find a locked chest. I attempt to lockpick it and immediately realize I have 0 lockpicks.
Shit.
After running around a bit more, I discover that every shopkeeper in town has a personal bodyguard who will happily beat the shit out of you if you look even remotely suspicious. Meaning I will not be able to pull off typical RPG shenanigans. I Looney Tunes break into some guy's house, read a few of his books, and find a plate of food sitting on the table. I wait until he isn't looking and take everything. Outside, I have a brief conversation with the bailiff.
Now someone's stealing cabbage from the peasants.
Who would steal cabbages? What absolute idiot would steal cabbages?
I wander towards the outskirts of the village when a guard suddenly flags me down. He accuses me of being a thief. Rude. I attempt to gaslight him.
My pa was a Cistercian.
He lived his whole life without sin and in celibacy. I'd be dishonouring his memory if I even touched stolen goods.
Celibacy, eh? So how did you come to be born then?
Well,
you
Shut your mouth
fucking,
and
you
show what you
fucking
have.
idiot, Henry. What the fuck are you talking about?
So, to recap the first day, I broke into one guy's pantry and stole vegetables, robbed another man's dinner, pissed off every guard in town, got caught, was forced to return all the stolen goods, then fell asleep in some random barn. However, this madness was not without purpose. I identified two key targets. The first is a guard stationed on the outskirts of town. He is completely isolated and stands in the same spot all night, meaning nobody would notice if something unfortunate were to happen to him. I take everything he owns, briefly consider adding manslaughter to my list of crimes, but ultimately decide against it. Then leave the scene of the crime undetected.
No shenanigans tonight. Got it?
God be with you.
No shenanigans here. No shenanigans. Do not check the back.
My second target is Taylor Bartoszek. This absolute moron is the only merchant in town without a personal guard, meaning it's just him and me in a room. Alone. After putting him to sleep, I take absolutely everything from him and his shop. Hundreds of groschen and a full wardrobe of expensive tailored clothing. This immediately makes me over-encumbered, so I make my grand escape at 2 miles per hour, leaving his naked body half glitched into his own doorway. Now, this game is very realistic, so we haven't actually gotten away with it yet. All of the items are marked as stolen, meaning if I wear any of them, the guards will immediately notice and arrest me. The next phase of the plan is simple: buy food with my newly acquired groschen, waddle into a nearby bush, and camp there for 2 days straight. And now, while I may be fading in and out of consciousness due to chronic sleep deprivation, I possess a full inventory of expensive clothing and a solid set of armor. Mission successful. I attempt to rest at a hay bale in a random barn. The barn's owner is not very appreciative of this and kicks me out. Naturally, I try again in a few hours. This time, a guard interrupts my sleep and informs me that I'm not allowed to be outside at night without a torch. I don't know if this guy expects me to cuddle with a lit torch while I sleep, but either way, he chases me off the property. The millisecond he leaves, I go right back and successfully finish my sleep. Third time's the charm. In the morning, I sort through my inventory and assemble 2 outfits, one for combat and one for social situations. I attempt to sell the rest of my clothes, but the merchant doesn't have enough money to buy everything. Well, this is quite the predicament. I'm still over-encumbered, meaning I can't run or get on a horse, and I have nowhere left to sell my remaining items. Which means I now need to stash hundreds of groschens worth of loot somewhere in town. While scouting for potential stash locations, I notice my health bar slowly creeping towards 0. I flabbergastedly check my character sheet and realize I am dying of food poisoning. Apparently, eating 2-day-old meat may not have been optimal for my health. I know there's an apothecary in town where I can buy a cure. The only problem is, it's on the other side of town. What follows is a painfully slow race between my over-encumbered walking speed and the rate at which I'm actively dying.
Please! Please! No, my screen is turning red. Move! Walk faster, you Henry! Move faster, Henry! Move! Jesus Christ, move! No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I'm completely fine. Walk, Henry, walk! Come on, man, move!
I barely make it to the shop and buy the potion. And despite being seconds from death, I still take the time to haggle the price down by exactly 1 groschen. With crisis narrowly avoided,
Not even close.
I waddle back to the location where I believe I can stash my valuables. The house directly next to the tailor's shop has a chest in its attic that I am fairly confident no one uses. So, I break in, pick the chest, and dump my belongings inside. Hopefully the residents don't notice the hundreds of groschens worth of horse armor and women's clothing that have mysteriously appeared in their attic. So, in the span of roughly 3 days, we went from a homeless vagrant on the street to having a decent amount of money, a nice set of armor, and weapons to our name. Not bad. Still no holes though. I open up the map and take a look at the available quests. It seems there are 2 main ways to get into the wedding, either through the Miller Crazel or the Blacksmith Radovan. We can also recover our companion Matt, who we lost all the way back during the attack. Additionally, there's a nomad named Tomcat, who, according to a beggar on the street, is some kind of master swordsman and could teach me some moves. The game plan I settle on is simple. Find Matt, then visit Tomcat, and from there head towards the miller. I steal a horse from the local pasture, and off we go. Not long after, I get ambushed by two bandits on the road.
Holy shit.
I manage to defeat one of them, but the second one gets the better of me, resulting in my first death. And my last save was back in Trosky, when I was still food poisoned. Give me the medicine right fucking now. And we're back. I reached the same spot where the bandits attacked me last time. There is nobody here. Great. Amazing even. After riding a bit more, I realized I went the wrong way again, meaning the place I was attacked earlier wasn't even the correct route. After many trials and tribulations, I finally arrive at the spot where me, the guy chasing us, and Matt all fell off a cliff. When I arrive, I notice a vagrant looting the body. No sign of Matt. I approach the man, who immediately tries to extort me for money. I respect it. I manage to talk him down and investigate the corpse, confirming that the man is in fact not alive. So I begin to look for clues. I discover the corpse of a deer with a very distinct dog-mouth-shaped chunk bitten out of it. What could this mean? I turn around to get on my horse, only to realize that dickhead left. I know I kidnapped him from his rightful owner and everything, but still, that hurt my feelings. The herb woman who saved us earlier lives nearby, so I decide to ask her if she's seen Matt. I head towards my destination on foot, and along the way I spot the same vagabond who tried extorting me earlier. The amount of free will I did not have in this moment is frankly terrifying. I take everything of value and dump his corpse into a nearby swamp, and continue on my way to Bojana's place. Unfortunately, she hasn't seen Matt, but she does point me towards a nearby tavern where he likely went for food. I also have the option to repay Bojana for saving my life. Obviously, I chose not to. What's she gonna do? Fall down some stairs? After terrorizing every wild boar I encounter, I finally reach the tavern. Sadly, Matt isn't here either, but one of the locals tells me about a nearby shepherd who's been having trouble with a pack of wolves. Perhaps Matt has embraced his wild side and joined them. I steal one of the horses tied up outside and ride towards the shepherd's place. I arrive at the shepherd's hut, go inside, eat all of his apples, then head out to the field to talk to him.
Bye, have a beautiful time.
No, my horse is leaving. No, come back. No.
I offer to help with his wolf problem, hoping Matt will be among them. We devise a flawless plan. Step 1. He gives me his stupidest ram, Ignatius, to use as bait. Step 2. I lead Ignatius to the field where the pack was last seen and place some food so he stays put. Step 3. I hide in a nearby bush and wait. Step 4. Violence. And hopefully we find Matt. I place a carrot down as Ignatius's final meal and hide in a nearby bush. After waiting a bit, the wolves finally appear. I jump out of the bushes and the fight ensues. I deal with the wolves as quickly as possible, but I still can't save Ignatius, who dies almost immediately. Society truly lost one of its brightest minds. The cherry on top is that Matt wasn't even among the wolves, meaning Ignatius died for absolutely nothing. I head back to the shepherd to collect my reward. He is just as devastated by the ram's death as I am.
Farewell, my friend.
Rest in peace. Reputation lost? Fuck you, bro. I'm about to fucking... Okay, no.
From here, I head to the nearby huntsman's hut, who is a poacher in the local area. Maybe he knows something about Matt. When I arrive, nobody is home. Obviously, I let myself in, eat his stew, realize I still don't have lockpicks, so I can't steal anything else, stalk his wife creepily through a window, then walk down to talk to her. She explains her husband hasn't returned from the forest in a few days. I offer to find him. She directs me to their son, who knows where he last went. The kid is reluctant to talk, but after a stern conversation, he gives me the directions. After some searching in the woods, I find the man stuck in a tree, surrounded by wolves. After gaining even more negative reputation with PETA, I talk to the poacher Vostatek, who is very clearly drunk, and watch him attempt to climb down from the tree, immediately breaking his leg.
I'm coming down! Jesus, Mary!
After some discussion, he asks me to carry him back to his camp. Given no real choice, I agree. I carry this man for multiple in-game hours as he gives me his drunken, barely intelligible directions, which sound less like directions and more like a riddle that will lead me to secret treasure. Eventually, we reach his camp and I put him down. Vostatek notices that his horse Pepik is missing. I absolutely do not want to carry this man all the way home, so I agree to find the horse. I take a quick rest, take his bow and head out. After some trekking, I find the poacher's camp. I count 4 of them. A head-on attack would be unwise. One of them is standing guard, slightly separated from the group. My plan was to circle around this boulder, sneak up behind him, and take him out quietly. One thing I fail to consider is that I'm currently wearing near full plate armor, which means each step I take sounds like a bag of pots being thrown down a staircase. I'm heard almost immediately. I keep walking, hoping I can ring around Rosie and still get behind him. Instead, halfway around the rock, he stops following me and turns around. We make eye contact. One of his pals hears the shouting and comes to help. I am now fighting 2 people. I try running away. I fail at running away. And then it hits me. My last save was before I carried the huntsman to his camp. Meaning if I die right now, I will have to repeat that entire questline. The amount of dread that washed over me in this moment could be compared to what a Mexican immigrant feels when ICE knocks on their door. And much like what they have to do in that situation, I arm myself with a medieval longsword and fight for my life. Against all odds, I survive. Barely. I loot the bodies, heal up, and return to the camp. This time I keep my distance and shoot the remaining 2 from afar. Much more effective. Just like how all roads lead to Rome, all RPG builds eventually lead to the stealth archer. I loot the camp for a decent amount of groschen and food. Then take Pepik back to the huntsman. We ride home together. I then witness a bit of family drama between Vostatek and his son. I absolutely do not care to solve it. Only now do I ask Vostatek if he's seen Matt anywhere. Because remember, this entire questline, including the murder of 4 people, was just so I could ask this guy about my dog. Vostatek then breaks the news. He hasn't seen Matt either. At this point I reach an all-time low. How much more of my time will I waste? Is Matt even real? Where would we be if the Roman Empire never fell? Are all questions floating through my head right now. Thankfully, he does tell me about a pack of wolves causing trouble near Samin. If I don't find Matt among these wolves, the pavement on the highway is going to look like a very comfortable sleeping spot. I stop by the nearby nomad camp. There I meet Tomcat, the master swordsman I heard about earlier. I pay him some money and he teaches me a few basic combos. Very cool. He then brags about knowing a special move called the Master Strike. He'll teach me if I beat him in a duel. Challenge accepted. I attempt to beat Tomcat an embarrassing number of times. I get close on a few attempts, but eventually I give up and continue towards the wolf pack. I find their den, and there he is. Matt. It seems during his time away from me, Matt joined the wolf equivalent of the Yakuza. And now, Akuyaku Okami-sama is very upset with us. A dramatic final battle begins, us versus the wolf gang. At this point, I'm probably at the very top of Peter's list, but we deal with the walls and Matt finally joins us. He's actually pretty useful, able to hold enemies in place, occasionally giving us a free hit in combat. From here I head to the nearby miller and ask what favor I could do for him to grant me an invitation to the wedding. He gives me a job, carrying sacks of flour to a cart. I briefly consider complaining about getting a menial-ass job, but I want this guy to like me, so I keep my mouth shut. As I place one of the sacks on the cart, it rips open. Inside is not flour, it's ball bearings. I confront the miller about his metallic flour and he's forced to tell the truth. This innocent-looking miller is actually the head of a secret thieves association. I also deduce from the way he speaks that he might be a little off in the head. In this situation, a sensible person might cut contact, report him to the authorities, or attack him on the spot. But am I a sensible person? I join the miller's gang of thieves, and he gives me my first assignment: steal an important document from the Red House in Troskowitz. I am also directed to a trainer who can help me improve my lockpicking and takedowns, leveling up both skills successfully. Now we have some things to take care of before breaking into the Red House. First, acquiring proper thieves' clothing. Chrysler tells me he sent his outfit to the bathhouse to be washed, but they never returned it, presumably because the clearly incriminating clothing, soaked in blood, raised a few questions. I head over and quickly realize the security of a random medieval bathhouse is not exactly top-notch. In the attic I find several locked chests. One very hard one I can't even attempt, a few medium ones and one easy one. I start with a medium difficulty lock. And when I tell you this shit is actually fucking impossible, I am not exaggerating. I get so annoyed that I break all 14 of my lockpicks and have to reload my last save. Call it a skill issue if you want, but I am fully convinced I could pick a real-life chest faster than this mid-difficulty lock. I decide to pick the easy one. Thankfully, the clothes are inside. I resisted the urge to burn down the entire bathhouse for inconveniencing me, and head back towards Troskowitz. There I speak with a man named Zinek, another thief working under Crazel. He is currently sitting in the stocks for stealing from some merchant, but despite that he has some very useful information. The document we need is kept in the Red House jail. There are two ways in: through the courtyard or from behind the tavern. One additional problem: the chest containing the document is locked, and only the guards have the key. I put on my thieves' clothes and prepare. Turns out I know exactly one guard stationed in a very secluded spot. But I am a changed man, and instead of crude violence, I will simply pickpocket him. Turns out pickpocketing in this game is not as straightforward as I thought. I spend a full minute reading the tutorial, yet my feeble mind still could not comprehend it. I try anyway. I fail multiple times. Eventually I say fuck it and wait until night and knock the guy out. I take his key, and everything else he has on him, and sneak inside. I creep past some sleeping guards and open the chest. No document. That's when I realize I am an absolute idiot. I broke into the guards' barracks, not the rat house. I step outside and start circling the building, looking for some entrance. I check everywhere Zinek told me to, but either he's delusional or I'm blind, because I find nothing. Eventually, I get bored and walk in through the front door, which somehow works. I sneak around, steal anything of value, then head down to the cellar and retrieve the document. On my way out, I notice the guard I knocked out is back at his post, still in his underwear. Now that is what I call dedication. I give the document to Crazel and receive my reward. He then starts explaining the rest of his plan. He begins by talking about alchemy, which briefly convinces me that he might be a saner person than I thought. But then he follows it up with this. He claims he learned a secret mystical process from a Jewish cabal, allowing him to animate a golem made entirely out of flour, using alchemy and theurgy. I sit there for a few seconds, staring at this man with empty eyes, contemplating every decision that has led me here. I tell him he's a fucking idiot, and he responds by citing biblical miracles as proof of magic being real. Religion has justified worse things than building a snowman out of flour, so I don't immediately discard his proposition. But for now, I decide to check out my other option, the blacksmith. After a quick chat, Radovan agrees to take me on as his hand, if I can prove myself useful by smithing a simple sword. We are then given a tutorial on smithing. Now, I may not know anything about smithing in real life, so I can't speak on historical accuracy, but I've got to give credit to the devs for making the system so detailed and in-depth. You have to heat the hot metal in different places, reheat and even flip the blade. It's actually a really neat mechanic. After a brief autistic stim, I finish the sword and earn Radovan's respect. He gives me a room in his house, meaning after like 10 hours of gameplay, I finally have my own bed, so I won't have to sleep in a random hay bale outside of the tavern. In the morning, Radovan explains that the last two hands he hired drove off with a cart of goods and never returned. He wants me to track them down. I oblige and head out to find them. Immediately upon arrival, some drunk mustache man named Yurko picks a fight with me. I was beating his ass before Captain Gnarly rudely interrupted us. He drags me to Lord Semin and I explain the stolen cart situation. We agree that the three of us will ride out to find the cart and hopefully arrest the two hands who stole it. The thing is, I can't exactly join them on a stolen horse, so I have to buy one. I head down to the stables where among the horses Henry recognizes Pebbles, his old horse who was lost all the way back in the attack. I manage to convince the stable hand that Pebbles is mine. I don't really know how, because I have exactly zero proof. But anyway, I check Pebbles' stats and quickly realize she's worse than every other horse in the entire stable. At least, she was free, and now I can whistle for her anywhere, which is very useful. We agree to ride out the next morning, so I head back to Takov, sleep, then go into Trosky to buy some food at the inn. While I'm talking to the innkeeper, she asks if I can help deal with a group of people called the Cumans who've been causing a disturbance. And I'm like, sure. I go talk to the Cumans and it turns out they're really not causing any trouble, they just want to eat. Despite my best efforts to keep the peace between the locals and the Cumans, a bar fight breaks out. After the dust settles, the townsfolk ask me to go to the Cuman camp and either convince them not to come back or take care of them. I head to the camp and talk to Vasko. Things get a little tense when I ask if he had anything to do with my parents' death. He ends up dodging the question, and then we do what any sensible group of Hungarians would do. We drink an irresponsible amount of alcohol. What?
More alcohol awaits you. Be one with the trees.
Okay.
Oh, I think this guy passed out.
Maybe I should break his neck. Is that a talking dog?
But more importantly, your life goal.
What's my goal?
To eat the Mona Lisa.
You have noble ambitions. That is good. Your destination is right in front of you. But be careful.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't drown? Of course I won't drown. I'll have you know I'm an Olympic level swimmer. Okay, well, I think I made a pretty solid case for the Cumans not to come back. I will count this as a win. I head back to town to collect my reward, only for the townsfolk not to believe me at all.
Look out! You're aiming that thing right at me!
And with that side quest complete, I finally meet up with Lord Semin and the captain, and we head out to find that stolen cart. We follow a series of clues tracking the hooligans down to their hideout. I let the two NPCs engage in melee while I sit back and shoot them with my crossbow. Because I am much more adept at watching the action unfold from a safe distance rather than taking part in it. We gather the supplies, and I mourn the fact that I can't loot the main bad guy's armor, and we head back with the cart. Wait a minute.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
I fast travel back to Takov and tell the blacksmith about our success. As a reward, he gives me a rusted chest plate. Yeah man, thanks. That'll definitely come in handy. Turns out the blacksmith is also tasked with forging a special sword as a wedding gift. For that, he needs a very specific type of welded steel. We can get some from a hermit named Ambrose. He lives in some decrepit hut in Apollonia and apparently has a pact with the devil itself. So at this point I'm faced with a life-altering decision. I can either take the blacksmith's or the miller's route into the wedding. In other words, I can either track down a deranged satanic hermit from Andalusia to steal his cursed Spanish sword, or have the head of the local thieves association summon a flower golem using Jewish geomantic rituals. This is possibly the most difficult decision of my entire life. I end up going the golem route. I talk to the miller and he tells me he needs an ingredient called saltpeter for the golem's heart. He then sends me to a woman named Bonnie who should know where to find some. I arrive at her place, deep in the woods. Immediately a red flag. She explains that saltpeter forms in places where something is rotting, meaning either shit or carcasses. One tiny, horrific detail. To confirm whether it's actually saltpeter, you have to taste it. Which means we're about to do some grave robbing and then eat the minerals lining the walls inside the grave. Splendid. I arrive at the cemetery, stalk the gravedigger through his window, then go inside and talk to him. I persuade him using the universal medieval solution. Meat. So, Mr. Ignatius... Wait a second. Gravedigger Ignatius, the Ram Ignatius... Coincidence? I think not. He agrees to let me tag along while he collects animal carcasses from the locals, then lead me to a gravesite where saltpeter should form. We jump on the back of his cart and head out. Along the way, I make sure to steal at every possible opportunity. Obviously. Eventually, we reach the gravesite, otherwise known as a mass grave, and well, get to licking. Confirming that it is indeed saltpeter. I return to the miller and deliver the good news. And just like that, we've secured an invitation to the wedding. Crazel then goes on to explain that he won't actually be making any golems. I am immensely disappointed. Anyway, moving on to the wedding and getting into Trosky. Here's the plan. We find a good-looking companion who can pose as a noble, and I'll be her bodyguard. The chamberlain of the castle, Ulrich, will be attending the wedding. According to Crazel, Ulrich has a weakness for pretty women. The idea is that he will be so thoroughly charmed that he will insist on inviting her to the castle, and naturally I, as the bodyguard, will have to follow her. And that will be my window to both steal a book for Crazel and talk to von Berghoff and clear up my name. So step 1, find someone good looking and turn them into a noble. To pass as a believable noble, you only need to do 2 things. Rent an expensive supercar and an apartment in Dubai, expensive clothing, and not to smell like shit. Luckily, I just so happen to have stashed some legally acquired clothing not too long ago. Perfume, however, is another issue. I know the innkeeper has some, so I head over to persuade her to give it to me. Turns out she's also invited to the wedding, so she's only willing to part from it for 500 groschen, which is a price I am absolutely not willing to pay. I think you already know where this is going. I break into her house, come dangerously close to being found by one of the housemaids, then attempt to pickpocket the perfume.
You thought I was sleeping. Nope. That's called acting. I learned that little maneuver from Patrick Stewart.
A few attempts later, I managed to pull the Maduro special on Grandma and escape from the house undetected. Now I've got the outfit and I've got the perfume. All I need is someone to put them on. I head to the bathhouse because statistically speaking the woman there at least should be clean. Lining up 3 contenders, I start evaluating my options. And then a problem arises. None of them want to sleep with the chamberlain. Apparently Ulrich has a reputation. A very specific reputation. To the point where even offering huge amounts of money doesn't change their minds. Now, I'm no stranger to some freaky stuff, but the fact that these women don't even want to talk about what they heard truly makes me curious. But for now, I need to find someone else. I head to the nomad camp where I heard about someone named... Annalyn? Doesn't matter, she claims to be a noble. She's also willing to put up with Ulrich's freaky nonsense, so she's officially recruited. She asks for some wine, which I give her, and give her the perfume as well. But when I try giving her the fancy clothes, for some reason none of the clothing I own counts as a dress. I'm sorry man, I really don't want to do this. The game is forcing my hand, I swear. I take the entire women's section of his shop, and all his money, then go back. This time one of the outfits finally counts. We're ready to go off to the wedding, until she says,
You can't go to the wedding looking like that. Just look at yourself. You'll scare people.
Excuse me? Apparently my Charisma 11 outfit isn't good enough. Yo, what's up, man? I promise you, I really don't want to do this. I'm being coerced. This time I take all the men's clothes. And all his money, again. Sort through everything and finally put together an outfit with Charisma 14. Still, not enough. At this point I do what every medieval peasant does. I research it on the internet. Turns out you need 16 Charisma to attend the wedding. I realize there's one crucial thing missing from my fit. Jewelry. More research reveals the location of a ring and a necklace. I find the ring hidden on the side of some random road, inside the corpse of a wild boar. Don't ask why or how. I don't know either. The necklace is hidden among some rocks on a cliffside. And finally, I am sufficiently dripped out to attend the wedding. Annelyn poses as Miss Kvietta of Colin, and I act as her chaperone. Everything goes according to plan. Ulrich immediately takes interest in Miss Kvietta, and, just like that, we're in. I try blending in at the party and get recognized. He's the guy I got into a bar fight with back in the village. Turns out he's the brother of the groom. He's hanging out with the huntsman's son, who I also know. And together they point out their friend Wojtek, who's currently trying to woo the daughter of Semin's cook. They bet me $10 that I can't raise her up before Wojtek does. Challenge accepted. Somehow my highly charismatic advances don't seem to get to her, and she tells us both to F off. Her loss. After some time passes, I realize von Bergov might not attend at all, so I decide my best bet is to talk to Lord Semin and convince him to introduce me personally. He mentions two problems. First, the beggars outside the gate. Their requests for basic human necessities like food are apparently ruining the wedding atmosphere. Second, the Moravians. They are known to get aggressive, especially when drunk or when denied alcohol. I offer to help with both, starting with the beggars. I speak to the gate guard, who helpfully points out that it doesn't take a scholar to figure out what beggars want. Food. The issue is that the cook refuses to give them even scraps. So I solve this the way I solve most problems in this game. By stealing. I grab food from the tables, then tell the cook that the guests have eaten everything. Once she leaves, I sneak into the pantry and take all of the leftovers. I head outside and distribute the food to the homeless. Me and the gate guard drink to our success. Next up, the Moravians. I talk to Jurko, the same guy I fought earlier. He explains there won't be any trouble if they're allowed to drink their high-quality alcohol they brought with themselves. Once again, I am forced to steal. I head down to the cellar and appeal to the guard's fear of missing out, convincing him to let me watch the door while he rejoins the party. The microsecond he leaves, I open the door and grab the good schnapps. Then there was a loaf of bread that looked way too tempting. This was a capital mistake. Somehow, through multiple walls, the guard seems to interdimensionally sense that I took that loaf of bread. I try darting out and closing the door, hoping it'll be fine. It was not fine. The moment he enters the room, we start throwing hands. I'm fully expecting to reload when suddenly a cutscene triggers. Turns out the Moravians also started a fight outside and the entire wedding descended into chaos. As guards rush in, the screen fades to black. We cut back to Henry and Hans locked together in a cell. Last time we parted, things weren't great, so I'm expecting another argument. Instead, Hans apologizes. He owns up to his past behavior and admits he was wrong. Absolute W from Hans. As we talk, he explains that during his time away, he was caught illegally poaching on another noble's land, meaning Hans is scheduled to be executed. He believes his royal status will save him from this fate. I'm not so sure. After some waiting, a guard opens the cell and takes only me. I'm told Hans will be hanged.
I'm a nobleman! You hear me? I'm a noble!
Yeah, that's not ideal. I'm informed that if I want my freedom and my gear back, I'll need to work off my debt through menial labor. I have no choice but to agree. And just like that, not exactly how we planned it, but we've made it into Trosky Castle. Our objectives. Reach Captain Thomas, who's at the very top of the highest tower in the chapel. Cure him to the point he's cautious enough to confirm our identities, thus saving Hans from having to cosplay as a hanging lamp. Additionally, we have a side quest to acquire an alchemical book for the miller. But, to be honest, I completely forgot about this one. We have until 12 rings of the bell to do these. which isn't exactly a concrete unit of measurement, so it's time to get to work. As I carry the first coal sack, I carefully study the layout of the castle. I come to the conclusion: it's massive, has multiple levels, long battlements, and tight guard patrols. This won't be easy. I'm not allowed into the inner courtyard, but I notice a side entrance into the kitchen and sneak inside, only to realize I'm allowed to be there, as there is no trespass marker. Moments like this remind me of my lifelong battle with autism, which I am continuously losing. There is one door that leads to the inner courtyard from here, but a guard is blocking it, meaning the kitchen is sadly a dead end. On my second coal run, I investigate a building that is separate from the main castle. Thankfully, the door was unlocked, so I take a look inside. After a bit of snooping around, I figure out it's the guard barracks. I help myself to some food, grab a longsword by the bed, and quietly acquire a small arsenal of weapons that were left out on a rack. I notice the guard stationed outside is isolated from the rest of the patrols. I think you can guess what happens next. I hide his body inside, break his neck, take his key, then use it to unlock all the chests and loot the building. I walk out like nothing happened. After my final coal run, I'm told to find more work. I see that the blacksmith station is inside the courtyard, so I go to him for work. Sure enough, he gives me the task of making a horseshoe, and with that, I'm allowed inside. I go to the cafeteria and notice there's a single guard, completely alone. I head upstairs, now officially trespassing, and encounter Scribe Erasim, whose office is inexplicably marked as non-trespass. He also doesn't question why I'm covered in blood or how I even got here. Okay, I guess. I rob him and move on. When I head back the way I came, I notice there's a guard standing watch right there. I pretty much instinctively bolt behind him and break his neck. Now there are a bunch of bodies everywhere, which might raise some suspicions, so I hide them in the roof space. As I was transporting the second guard's body, I noticed Mr. Oblivious having a think at the window. I had to wait awkwardly while he stares out the window, inches from discovering me holding a corpse. After he moves back into his office, I stash the second body. With the patrols taken care of, I'm free to loot more rooms. I open up another door that wasn't locked, and there I find the guard, with his back turned. At this point, the fifth bell rings. Half my time is gone. I stop dicking around and survey the battlements. Here's the plan. Wait until this guard is at this specific point, stealth behind him and do the deed. Then sneak along the battlements, avoiding the patrol on the opposite side. The execution was flawless until I walk face first into a guard. I duck into the small outcropping as fast as I can, hoping he didn't spot me. Only to then hear his voice call out and his footsteps start approaching. In this moment, I accepted my defeat and prepared for the worst. But then, he walks past me. He saw the body and not me. I quickly slip behind him, behind another guard and down into the pantry. That was way too close. Even though Hans will be executed in 7 bell rings, I take a quick moment to taste the fine wine in the cellar. Delicious. Up the stairs, another guard. Back turned. After walking around this floor a bit, I figure out it's probably the Master Chamberlain's accommodation. I loot everything, clothes, belts, and more food. More importantly, I find a gold ring worth 660 groschen in a small box. Insane find. I climb the final stairs and finally reach Captain Thomas. Could I have gotten here without slaughtering half the garrison and stealing a quarter of the castle's net worth? Probably, but I chose my own path, and I think that's beautiful. I speak to Thomas's sister, who has been acting as his caretaker. She explains the concoction the surgeon originally gave him was working. The problem is that the surgeon has gone missing and I've run out of it. Don't worry, lady. I am a master of alchemy. I've done it exactly once at the beginning of the game. I ask what the potion was made of. She doesn't know, but says the recipe should be in the surgeon's book, which would be in his chambers, meaning I now have to cross the entire castle again, back the way I came. Luckily, the guards who would have stopped me are currently participating in a room temperature challenge, so I make it to the surgeon's chambers without much trouble. I look around the room and find the book I was searching for. After reading it, I learned the potion I need to make is called a fever tonic, and it has a pretty lengthy brewing process. One issue remains. I have 0 ingredients. I'm 99% sure the ingredients are locked in this chest, but I don't have any way of lockpicking it because all my stuff was taken. So I resort to my most powerful skill once again: online research. Turns out there's a guy in the stables who sells lockpicks. He's also the guy I was supposed to deliver horseshoes to. So I head down and try my absolute best to quickly make a shoe for a horse. But as it turns out, this forge is the most tedious craft known to mankind.
Miss! 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 Miss!
I would sooner run 5 kilometers inside the dryer than ever make a horseshoe again. While I'm fumbling with the smithing mechanic, the 9th bell tolls. I now have 3 bells until Hans is executed. This is going to be close. I finally finish the damn thing, sprint to the stables, hand it over, buy the lockpicks at record speed, and run back to the brewing station. I pick the lock, thank god it's an easy one, and immediately start brewing as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah, I need wine for this. Fuck, I read the wrong one.
The 10th bell rings.
Steel? What the fuck is that fist? I can't read.
The 11th bell rings.
Is it this thing?
After finally deciphering the recipe, I successfully brew the concoction. Now I just need to run back to Thomas and give it to him. I make it to Thomas exactly as the 12th bell rings. We watch as Hans is led towards the noose. We drag the still delirious Thomas down, desperately hoping he can put an end to this. But the Chamberlain seems to have blood in his eyes when it comes to Hans. It looks like all my efforts have been in vain.
Open the gates!
That is von Bergov, the man we came here to meet in the first place. He arrives at the last possible moment and saves Hans. I do feel a little awkward about the fact that my efforts to save Hans ended up being completely unnecessary. But anyway, we finally have our meeting with von Bergov. We explain the situation to him, and we are given our stuff back along with a personal room in the castle, where we hit the hay one more time, as more adventures await us on the morrow. But for now, this is where we'll leave it. We managed to avoid employment through a modest amount of crime, survived the harsh landscape of Czechia, and delivered the letter to its rightful owner. Will we put an end to the War of Succession, and can Henry avenge the death of his parents? Maybe we'll find out next time. But for now, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.